Language is always changing. Words come and they go, meanings shift over time. This dynamic nature of language is what makes it so fascinating and complex. Every word we use today has a history or a story of how it came to be and how its meaning has transformed through the ages. From the ancient scripts that were carved in the stone to the digital text that we type on our screens today, language is a living entity that evolves with us. Now, the question comes, how can we track these changes? How do we understand this flow of words and their meanings? This is where the science of linguistics work. By employing some tools, specific tools, and methodologies, we can map out this journey of words across time. One powerful tool is the n-gram graph. This tool allows us to visualize the frequency of words or phrases over a specified period. By plotting these frequencies on the graph, we can observe trends and patterns that reveal how language usage has changed. In this video, I'm going to talk about all the n-gram graphs that were given in March, May, June, October, November 2024 past papers. N-gram graphs helps you see how language is used over long periods. They provide a visual representation of the rise and fall of the word popularity, showing you which words have got recognition and which words have been faded away. By studying these patterns, we can learn a lot about how language evolves. We can understand the factors that influence language change, such as technological advancements, social movements, and even political events. These graphs are especially useful for studying large amount of text. They allow us to process and analyze such data that would be impossible to examine manually. You must be thinking what kind of data is difficult for us to handle manually. This is called corpus. Our corpus is a large and structured set of texts that are used for linguistic research. This can be a collection of books, newspapers, or even social media posts. By analyzing these texts, we can gain insights into how language is used in different contexts and how it changes over time. Now, let me explain what are n-grams. An n-gram is a sequence of words, and n stands for the number of words in that sequence. So, if n is 1, it's called a unigram, which is just a single word, like cat. When you say the cat, it's a 2-gram, also called bigram. And when you say the cat sat, is a 3-gram or trigram. N-grams can be any length. They can range from unigrams to bigrams, trigrams, and beyond that, depending on how detailed the analysis needs to be. They show us which words often appear together, and they also show us the order in which words appear. You must be thinking what kind of lexis or the vocabulary you can use while analyzing n-gram graph in exams. You can use the word frequency to describe how often an n-gram occurs. You can use the words like rise and fall. For example, you say the frequency of this n-gram rose steadily throughout 19th century, let's suppose. Then in the same way, you can use the word fall. For example, this n-gram has fallen dramatically in recent years. Similarly, there are two terms like increase or decrease. You can use in the same manner. And then there is a word fluctuation. You can say the graph shows fluctuations in the use of this n-gram. And then there are words like trend, decline. You can say the overall trend is towards a decline in the use of this phrase. Then there are the words like compare and contrast. You can say compare and contrast the usage of this n-gram in different time periods. Then there is a word like reflect or indicate. You can say the decline in the use of this phrase reflects what? You have to fill it up. Means what is it reflecting? It reflects a shift in the cultural attitudes, you can say. Or the word indicate. For example, a pattern indicates a growing preference towards something. Now I want you to look at some specific examples here. This graph indicates 3 words, diving, wearisome, and wearisome without E at the end. All of these words have similar meanings. They all describe something that causes fatigue, but these words have different histories. The word striding is relatively new, but wearisome without E was the dominant term in Middle English period. However, over time, wearisome with E gained prominence, perhaps due to its smoother sound. The emergence of diving suggests a preference for simpler and more direct language. Diving is shorter and less formal than wearisome. This shift reflects broader trends in language evolution towards conciseness. So this example shows you how n-grams can reveal subtle shifts in language use. Now look at this graph. It indicates that the evolution from two separate words, that is any and thing, to the single word anything occurred over a significant period, and that is 1760 to 2019. This long duration suggests a gradual and natural shift in language usage. Originally, any and thing were used as separate words. For example, you might have encountered phrases like anything you desire in older text. Over time, these two words merged into single word, anything. This merging reflects how language constantly adapts and evolves through usage and the influence of various factors. This kind of evolution exemplifies a broader trend in English, the standardization of compound words. Many words in English were originally formed by combining two or more separate words. Over time, these combinations often became solidified as single words, leading to a more concise form of communication. Let's analyze the n-gram graph, which shows the frequency of the phrases to be awoken, to be waked, and to be woke between 1850 and 2019. The line representing to be waked and to be woke show a general downward trend over the period. In contrast, the line representing to be awoken exhibits an upward trend, particularly in the later part of the 20th and into the 21st century. This indicates a significant increase in the usage of this phrase. This n-gram graph is representing the frequency of the phrases treat bad and treat badly over time spanning from 1800 to 2019. The blue line representing treat bad shows a significant rise in frequency throughout the 20th century. It starts relatively low in the early 1800s and steadily increases until it peaks around the late 20th century. The red line representing treat badly shows a more fluctuating pattern. It starts with a higher frequency than treat bad in the early 1800s, but then experiences a decline. It shows some fluctuations throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, and then decreases significantly towards the end of the 20th century. In the early part of the period, treat badly appears to be the more common phrase. The significant rise of treat bad indicates that it became the dominant form. The use of treat bad may have originated in spoken language first and gradually entered written English. The shorter form, treat bad, may be preferred due to its conciseness and ease of use. Now this graph is representing the frequency of the words draws and draws, DRAWS and DRAWES over time spanning from 1600 to 1700. The blue line representing DRAWS shows a significant rise in frequency throughout the 17th century. It starts relatively low in the early 1600s and steadily increases until it peaks around the late 1600s. After that, it maintains a high level of frequency. The red line representing DRAWES shows a different pattern. It starts with a higher frequency, then experiences a sharp decline. By the late 1600s, its frequency becomes negligible. The decline of DRAWES suggests a shift in spelling norms towards the modern spellings DRAWS. The invention and widespread use of the printing press likely played a role in this shift. Printing technology facilitated the standardization of spelling. The development and publication of dictionaries also contributed to the standardization of English spellings, including the preference for DRAWS over DRAWES. N-gram graph analysis is a valuable tool for understanding language change. As more and more texts become available online, N-gram graph analysis will become even more powerful.